Hello there, wonderful souls. Welcome to the latest One Minute Vlog. My name is Gavin, and I'm sharing my journey towards back to oneness with you in hopes that we get to do this together. So today, I'm going to be sharing, what I think, my experience, and I think you'll be able to relate and that this will be helpful to you, is 5 less than fun aspects to awakening. You could say I'm, it's so hard to judge and label it because it could be, painful. It could be disheartening. It could be difficult. Put whatever words you want to, but I put in not so fun, right? And I feel like it's helpful to really look at this because I've been experiencing this lately. And a big word that comes up for me often on this is frustrating, right? That you think, oh, like this journey is just going to be, mostly ups and mostly what feels like positive and mostly comes from love. Yeah, there's a lot of shadow, a lot of darkness, a lot of, dissolving, these illusions that aren't real, that are difficult, right? So let's just dive into, my experience and something I think you can relate to too. So number one, of the first one of that's less than fun aspect of awakening would be you really have I've had the sense of losing my mind, right? That like a part of me thinks, oh my gosh, like I'm going crazy, right? That like it seems like so many things of how I used to look at it or how the ways used to be is drastically, radically different, right? And so then, like, my mind doesn't really know what to make of that. And then, what our minds do is take the past and try to have a reference point to make sense of it, to articulate it. And then that's designed to make us feel better. So when we start, going through this awakening process, there's a lot of things that change that we let go of, and with that, it can feel like a sense of like we're kind of going crazy. And so it's normal. I've been assured in many different ways that it's normal, but it's one of the things that being aware of when it's happening. Then you don't have to have this fear or concern around it. Okay. Number two, this huge sense of vulnerability. Okay. Now, in my experience in this planet for just over 48 years, I feel like vulnerability seems to be this not superpower, this something that you don't want to do because it makes you look smaller to society. It makes you look less powerful, and that like aren't in control. Okay, and it's the exact opposite of that in spirituality. Is that vulnerability is a huge sign that you're on the right path, and vulnerability would be detaching, letting go, surrendering. Okay, and that's what it looks like. But what the ego feels like is it's losing control. It's not going out there trying to change the world, trying to make things happen, and therefore, like the ego doesn't know what to do with that. The ego feels like it's under attack, that things aren't working, that like it's going to die, right? Which for the ego, there's a substantial reason, and that would feel that way. That the self would feel like, hey, I feel like this vulnerability is a bad thing because we're supposed to have goals. We're supposed to make things happen. We're supposed to like go out there and do all of these things, right? When you start learning with vulnerability is that you just are back to like the beingness, back to that source, back to the stillness. Okay, and it feels awkward. It can feel like you're losing control, right? So that's another. Number two is you feel very vulnerable. Okay, number three, loneliness. This is something that I have dealt with for years, even though I'm around people a lot, or I feel like I have friends and family and everything like that. Yet this journey is what I've learned is a sacred personal journey that we all do on our own, or we perceive it that way. It's not really what's happening. We're uncovering and dissolving the layers back to who we really are. yet it can feel lonely. And the reason being is because we're so used to going out there. We're so used to like distracting ourselves with people, with events, with doing, that when we start going within, it can feel like, we're alone. Another aspect of that is that we are, letting go of a lot of things, a lot of, maybe it's people, maybe it's aspects of our lives, maybe it's events. And when that's how we used to get, companionship, that's how we used to get fulfillment, that's how we used to get happiness, then it can feel very lonely when we're not in those things anymore. But I can assure you, you're on the right track. We are on the right track if you're feeling lonely. And then sometimes it's like, just like you don't feel like you have anybody to talk to about it. Okay, that's why I do these videos, like for reassurance, for like that we get to do this journey together. That's why I ask for comments. Like, there is support everywhere, and the divinity, the wisdom, the truth is going to show up in many ways. And you are being guided. This is one of those ways. You are absolutely being guided, but it can have the appearance of loneliness. Okay, and it's been something I've really, really struggled with over the years. Like, oh, people don't understand me, or I don't have anybody to talk to. And even though I do to a certain extent, it is an inner journey. So just remember that. Also, number 4 on the less than fun aspects of awakening would be it's confusing. I feel like, there's been lots of times that I have physically felt disoriented. And then there's been other times I'm just like confused about what's unfolding in front of me. I'm confused what to make of it. I'm confused how to look at it, how to feel about it. And that's very natural. It's a huge reshifting, reorientation about how we perceive and look at the world and our role, our, divinity within it. Okay. So of course there's going to be confusion. Of course that everything that we think we know about the world and that we've learned and that how we think it operates is changing. So, that's going to show up in a lot of cool ways with miracles. It's going to show up in a lot of ways that, like, having to deal with pain and repressed feelings and aspects of ourselves we don't want to look at, and what a lot of people would call the darkness. So that can be confusing, painful, not fun, right? So just remember that's very natural part of this process. Also, number 5, okay, I have really felt, and I know other people probably feel this way too, that it feels like a sense of loss. It feels like, and this is where a lot of my fear was in the beginning when I really got on this path, is that I feel like, I was giving up something, that what I had put so much time and energy and belief into, like letting that go, I had resistance to doing that because so much was built into that. So many of my past experiences, my efforts, my time was like building, what I believed to be true. And so then when I started letting go of those things and detaching from it, there were parts that felt like loss, whether it be like friends or events that I used to do, like golf, or like, I used to like to go out with friends and have drinks. And not to say that like all those things I won't do again, but those aren't like the priority anymore. And having to do with like, material things, like used to really caring about goals and cars and money, and like that was my salvation. That was the answer. That was the truth towards happiness. And when I've definitely let go of that illusion, let go of those beliefs of thinking that those are going to bring me happiness, it did. In the beginning, it feels like loss because we have used those things as the distraction. We've used those as the meaning, as the purpose. And that's what we put our focus on. So when we start shifting that focus, it's kind of the initial feeling is like, gosh, this feels like loss, right? So it can be very scary to go through all 5 of these things. That's what, I've, realized is like all different aspects of this. Like I fear, anxiety, fear, lack of trust and faith come up, and it's all natural, right? Because like I, said a little bit ago, but in a different way, we're retuning ourselves. Or, if we used to operate, say higher or lower, but if you used to operate from a vibration of here and now you're operating from a vibration up there, it feels different. And it's not necessarily like, like label or judge things as good or bad, yet it's part of the process. And what happens at each one of those levels, that's the new level. You might slide back a little bit, but you're continuing to go up, what some would call maybe the ascension process, right? And really, what's happening is we're just getting closer and closer to the truth and to what's really happening all the time, and that we are starting to understand it, to starting to see it, and starting to experience it, right? And because it seems so foreign, because it seems so different, because it seems so like, out there, and not what everybody else is experiencing, you can have all these feelings. It can be confusing. You can be lonely. You feel vulnerable, like you're losing your mind, and in a sense of loss, okay? Yet I'm here to reassure you and to let us both know as reminders, it's all part of the process. And this is what it looks like, and it's worth it, okay? So in my next vlog that this came to me this morning meditating, I'm going to share, you could call it the positives. I don't want to say negative or positive, but like the benefits, the advantages, the fun part of and aspects of awakening. So would love to hear from you. Let me know what you think. If you have other things that you're experiencing with your awakening, with your ascension, with with how you're receiving the enlightenment within you, okay, would love to hear from you. And I will look forward to sharing 6 fun aspects of awakening on the next vlog. All right. Thank you so much for being here on this journey with us. All right. And much love, my friend. Bye-bye.